My name is Teresita Blanco, dear sister, and we're reading Saturnastra Chalon, Chapter 2. One of the books he had read yesterday was about a little princess, and it was a biography about one of the ancient nobilities from the Western Kingdom that nobody bothered to talk about. And the story of the maiden had started when her father had wed his lover after divorcing his wife, and the problem was that the lover was a lady of ill repute, and meanwhile her mother was being a bit of a heel because of the divorce. And one day the princess remembered how she had swallowed a glass bead when she was little, and her mother had told her that she had passed it. However, the princess was not certain about it, and due to her fixation on the bead, the princess developed a type of glass delusion, and she thinks that any mistake could cause the glass bead to break, thus killing her. And from then on, she takes all sorts of precautions, and she will not even allow people to touch her. And Chalon thought of the glass princess, imagining that she was made of porcelain. And whenever she touched something, Chalon imagined the sound of a porcelain scratching against the surface. And he thought drifted to another matter that was similar to the book title, The Strange Craze or the Crystal Princess. The day before, a man had come to the party, and after getting drunk, he had told an interesting story about a man who had been saved from execution at the last second. And before the axe had fallen on his head, the judges had come to acquit the man, and the fellow had only found out about this the following day, and he fainted the moment he kneeled down with his head wrapped inside a black sack. And when he awoke, the man had been convinced that he had been decapitated, and it was only through with some luck that the head had not fallen over, and ever since then the fellow had been wearing a neck braces to keep his head firmly attached to his neck. Chalon chuckled thinking, every man had his theme. And it was then when he felt a familiar sensation, and narrowing his eyes, Chalon languidly rose from his bed, and he reached under his bed for his chamber pot, and when he finished micturating, he threw the pot content out the window, and Chalon heard outside a person cursing, and the person in the exterior yelled, "What's why you emptied a piss bucket, you asshole?" Chalon quickly scribbled on his chalkboard, "Sorry, my bad." "It's fine," said the fellow. "It only splattered my boots a bit." Chalon underlined the word "sorry" and showed the chalkboard to the fellow passing by. And when the man left, Chalon chuckled as he saw the man walking away. Before returning to his bed, Chalon wrapped a cloth and he poured a bit of water on it, and he used it to clean his lizard. And when he felt his undercarriage partly
his
clean...
what? His dick.
Whatever. Chalon returned to bed. Cleaning himself with water after every discharge was a bit of a habit he had inherited from his mother, though as a man it was completely unnecessary. When Chalon settled down again, he noted the time and he regretted the need to have to micturate. And whenever he got up, it meant starting the process of falling asleep all over again. And at this rate, he would only catch 8 hours of sleep at the most. And for those not up to date with the style of this world, I suppose I should mention one oddity. It has 30 hours per day, and on average people sleep for 10 to 12 hours, while they are active for 18 hours. Once again, Chalon closed his eyes in an attempt to sleep, and this time he was sleeping while facing the right window. And on the wooden wall there was a creepy painting of a maiden with wild hair, and behind her there was a vampire lord giving her a hair pendant. The vampire was not handsome, but a black-robed weirdo with ashen skin, no nose, and sharp claws and teeth. And the black eyes with golden pupils was just the icing on the vampire cake. And Chalon was usually more comfortable sleeping towards the left. However, when his arm was falling asleep, he tried to sleep on his right, and the last thing he saw before closing his eyes was that thing. Chalon tried in vain to fall asleep, and at the most he could only cause him to fall into unconsciousness, and it was only when he stretched his right arm a bit that he managed to relax. And during a relaxed state, people normally do not focus their thoughts, and they just appear and disappear naturally. And you can tell that a person is not thinking by the way they have their brow. And people tend to imperceptibly furrow it whenever they are trying to picture something. In this relaxed state, Chalon thought of the last rib of his adopted cousin Katie, who was also known as Kate, and the nails had a good look to them. And for somebody used to biting them instead of cutting them with a scissor. And from there he thought of a red crystal of the sacred mass, and it unbalanced somewhat the entire composition, and it was a ruby while the rest of the mass had standard diamonds. Oh, so wow, so the sacred mass thing had the concept idea for like a while.
Yeah, that's the same description of the sacred mass in the...
From the sacred mass theory.
Yeah.
Sleep finally overtook him with this one last thought, and he did not often...
Is it the real one or a fake one? The one that he has?
Well, the real one has been like the real one has been making its way throughout worlds and generations and whatnot. Sleep finally overtook him with this one last thought, and it is not often that we remember our dreams, though we have a machine that records them for future watch and malamusement. Chalon did not require such a contraction, and he was one of the few people who remember all of his dreams, for better or for worse. And so thus it took him a little longer to recall the dream, but he eventually remembered it. His mind interpreted dreams like any other type of memory, and this night the dream was not particularly pleasant or even remotely entertaining for him. As for me, I found the first dream he remembered quite humorous. The dream followed the adventures of Saturnastra Chalon in dragon form, and he was flying through the air having a grand old time burning villages, and suddenly he felt the need to micturate. And when he tried to do so, his mother suddenly appeared and said, "You cannot pee." But I really gotta go, protested Chalon. "You must fight back. You cannot. You must not," said Chalon's mother. He's dreaming. He's having a weird dream. He said, what do you mean I can't? Her mother really a mad. Chalon flew away from his mother, and he entered a small body of water, and he imagined that she could not guess his intention, and once again he tried to go to the bathroom, and again his mother did not let him do so, and eventually Chalon awoke with a strong desire to micturate. And he had vague memories of the dream and had not...
How much of this book is about peeing? I'm
about
curious
pit?
now. Yeah.
About pit? Okay, that's what this chapter should be called.
Yes. Okay. So I didn't mean to interrupt. I'm just curious now.
Just sounds insane. This book sounds insane. Oh man, like, so that's when you're like, we read your stuff after a while, not like... not looking at it for a bit and be like, oh my god, what was I thinking when I wrote this map?
Okay, please do go on.
He had vague memories of the dream and not so happy expression on his face, and this dream may seem strange to those unfamiliar with Lady Godiva's eccentricity, and she was the type of fellow who would hug you only to bite your shoulder. And Chalon had seen a similar scene play out before involving his mother and his uncle.
To the reader, Lady Godiva is...
Well, that's just my self-character, self-insert into the book, you know.
The artist will bite you. Okay.
Whenever the poor fellow tried to evacuate, Lady Godiva would tell him not to do so and to fight deers. The memory of this returned to Chalon this morning, and for some reason it made him smile. And he looked out the window and he noted the position of the moon. And then he felt wide awake. He decided to get up and do something with his life. He had already slept a decent 7 hours, and anything more, and it would have just been a little bit too much for his taste. Time, bro?
15 minutes.
Time 09. Like that, like it's like 9 a.m. in the world of Saturnastra.
Yeah, every time
right
you say time, I think I gotta tell you the time.
Chalon opened his left eye a little as he struggled to get enough energy to get out of bed, and the first thing he did was roll over to his left side to snuggle away the two pillows some more. And he then reached into the air and he peeled it off a bit to open his item bin. And now the people have a little item bins, and we summon what we desire in a particular way, and some people create the illusion of turning over the corner of a page, while others prefer the flashy portal effect. And as for Chalon, to outsiders it seemed as if he had made something appear out of thin air. And he held in his hand one of those arcade devices people used to communicate with, and some of the children have a fondness for vintage toys and games. And Chalon turned on the little device by tapping on the screen, and then he looked through all the little round images on the surface till he found the one he wanted. And the game he had summoned was quite rudimentary, and the whole purpose of the game was to collect clothing so you could collect more clothing. And a lot of games in the old days had a similar repetitive format that certain groups found endearing. And it was always to get this, to get more of the same. And Chalon playing this game for a bit till he was wide awake enough to get out of bed.
Chalon is playing Love Nikki, isn't he?
Whatever, dude. Before making the effort, he put away this little arcade game, the doll and the plushie. And Chalon slowly rose from his bed and he lightly felt the floor with his feet. And he immediately pushed them back up when he felt something beneath his toes, and he lighted a candle to see what was below, and he breathed a sigh of relief when he noticed that it was just a very small feather. And he reached for the feather and he smelled it, The feather belonged to a dove. Chalon remembered that the day before he had seen those feathers around the camp, and doves were considered to be a bit of a pest in the city of society, and it was common to see falconers making their rounds trying to control their overpopulation. Chalon dropped the feather and he started waking up in earnest, and the first thing he did was go to pick up his toothbrush, paste, a towel, and a change of clothing. And there was a well near the camp, and it was a bit of a chore for most traveling merchants. Bucket by bucket, Chalon washed his body with cold water, and he washed his teeth as well. And the one thing he did not do was shave. He did not shave because growing a beard was optional for his species. Time, bro?
10 minutes.
I have a nice little beard growing here, and it is quite spacious and bushy, and sometimes I like to braid it. And I have even styled it in such a way as to spell the word beard. And it is truly amusing. Not like drinking beer, but like a beer that says beard.
Okay.
It is truly amusing. Mustaches, not so much. They get in the way of eating your food. Anyhow, back to Chalon. And this reminds me, I suppose I should explain that in Chalon. It is the same name of one of those dead languages. It is pronounced the same way as you do shalom, but with an N sound at the end of it. Now back to the matter at hand. Just as Chalon was finishing his libations, he was met up by Kay, and she was carrying a bucket to acquire water for her breakfast, and she noticed Chalon wrapped in a bath towel, but she said nothing. She was used to his indecency, and sure, Chalon could have bathed in his room, but it was a lot quicker to get his basic part of the day done and over with. And when he was decent, he went to the center of the camp, and he saw that their mother Estrid and some of the other maidens were just finishing the communal breakfast. They had a bunch of rocks that had been heated by wood, and the cinders had been removed, and then the top of the boiling rocks, more rocks were placed, and over them they had placed clams, pork, beef, and chicken, and to trap the steam they had used branches. And when the food was just at this point, Estrid rang the bell, and from all of the tents and trailers, an army of hungry men, women, and children emerged to eat breakfast. And aside from the meat, there were also steamed potatoes and baked breads. And they made us serve those who gathered before getting food for themselves, and it was done so to prevent food-related infighting. Since Chalon was one of the first assembled there, he was able to choose his meat. And Esther knew that Chalon did not like rare meat, and so she gave him a well-done steamed piece of steak, a chicken breast, and some potatoes. And this clan in specific had a thing for the potatoes, and whenever they went, they always bought potatoes, and most of their meals included at least 4 different types of potatoes. And for this particular meal, Chalon had received a piece of Yule jam, a roast fin apple, and a purple majesty potato. And when he came to his table, his cousin Kay already had for him a bottle of water. And Chalon always forgot to get some, or he never got water because Kay always had a water bottle ready for him. Kay was Jay's twin sister, and she had a slender frame, straight black hair, and a round face with even features, and her most interesting feature was her eyes, and she had a partial heterochromania. A wedge of both her eyes was brown instead of black, and it was so minor that barely anyone noticed it. And she said besides Chalon to eat her breakfast, and Kay had always found Chalon endearing. However, her pride had never allowed her to express her true feelings for him, and she felt that she would lose power in the relationship if she was the one who initiated something. As for Chalon, he either did not know or did not care to notice. The first thing that Chalon attacked were the potatoes, and the batch he had gotten were particularly sweet, and so were crunchy while others soft, and the red one was crumbling. And when he finished the potatoes, he acquired a piece of bread, and his table usually had a loaf of bread in the middle, and that always went well with everything, and he placed inside the bread the chicken, which he ate with gusto. And as for the steak, he ate it alone before removing the pieces of fat he did not like, and the pieces he moved aside were quickly picked up by a fork by Kay, and she was not a picky eater, and while Chalon ate, he every so often drank from the pitcher of water, and Chalon was a heavy water drinker just like his mother, and unlike her, he always preferred water over any other type of fruity drinks or soda for that matter. Chalon did not linger much over his food, and while the people around him took their time eating, Chalon ate as if his plate would be taken away at any moment, And this is a commonality in our world, and we picked up this habit from the same woman who raised all of us, and the reason for doing so is simple. We simply do not like eating cold or warm food, and most food starts getting cold as soon as it is removed from the kettle, oven, or whatever. You have about 10 to 15 minutes to eat before the food becomes inedible. And this measure is not necessary for cold salads or fruits, and even so, the habit sticks. But for opposite reason, nobody can stomach a warm salad. And there's no such thing as warm ice cream. Time, bro?
9 minutes.
With his meal concluded, Chalon left for the town to buy supplies, and every day the men just went to the city to stock up on items, and since they were not allowed to enter with their cars or wagon, each person had to carry back whatever they could. And as such, it usually took about a month for them to get ready to leave the new locality. And there were notable exceptions to this norm, but this only occurred in the isolated city of Dokai, and just going up there was a bit of a trip, and most humans cannot linger up there because of altitude sickness. And on this particular day, Chalon was tasked with buying spell components and other gimmicks. And aside from theater magic, the gypsy clan had an affinity for necromancy, and the bodies they always experimented with rarely bothered to belong to the locals. Rather, they used their ancestors, who are sticky souls, as we like to call them, and magic rituals were needed in order to help them maintain their powers, and they would only be summoned during times of great need. And like most of the cities of this time, Sassari had fortification walls. It also included a couple of guard towers, and the largest guard tower was found inside the city, and it loomed over the market, casting a dark shadow over the populace. And just like other cities, Sassari had a mandatory dragon tower, and this dragon tower served as a visual reminder of the might and power of Verageddon, and it was always placed in the market district, which was the lifeblood of all of the cities in the kingdom. And as for the exterior walls, they were devoid of any ornamentation, and they served a pure practical purpose. And it had the gates, the moats, the killing fields, the keeps, and the stairs. And our visitors usually had to pass through the killing fields before being allowed entry into the city. And it was there where a small tent was set up with the magistrate holding interviews. And the magistrate was not an army official. However, at his signal, any person who stood before him would get pelleted by arrows. And there was about 5 rotating magistrates, and since they were paid enough to care, bribery only provided a swift death for those who attempted to enter the city without permission or a travel permit. Chalon joined the line just as the sun was starting to rise, and the gypsies always started the day before sunrise because there was plenty of work to be done. And while Chalon waited in line, the person behind kept staring at his green robes. Chalon normally dressed black to intimidate people, as most mages usually did. However, when he was keen on keeping people at ease, he would wear green robes instead. The back of the robes had an embroidered message in English that read, "I am mute, so be nice." Beyondness was different in this world than in others. In more advanced civilization, it is common to minimize and bully people with some infirmity. In this world, muteness was seen as something positive. For women, it was seen as a mark of chastity and good temperament. For men, it was a sign of holiness. And this general tent was started 753 years ago, and followers of the goddess of heat were always frustrated by the fact that when she manifested, she never said a word to them. And over time, the strange behavior of the goddess started a trend among her followers. And all the cults joined in suit, and even within the magic community, there were certain silent magicians who insisted on never uttering a word to cast their magic. And overall, there were only 5 silent magicians, and Chalon was among them. Time?
5 minutes.
Casting magic without using words was something hard to manage within the magical community. Magic words were far too ingrained in the magical system, and as such it was hard for local mages to separate magic from the reading world, which is a social construct. In reality, one need not speak a single word to create the desired magical effect. And the person behind Chalon tapped his shoulder. Chalon pretending not to notice, and the man eventually chucked at Chalon's hood before saying, "Excuse me, can I have a word with you?" Chalon sighed, and then he turned around a bit, and not completely, so he could make certain that nobody would skip ahead of him. Just him making sure that nobody skips ahead of him. Chalon wrote down on his chalkboard, "What do you want?" The man behind Chalon looked at him from head to toe, and based on Chalon's face, he had all of the traces of being related the gypsies, the man said to Chalon, "I do not know how to read." Chalon erased the word, and then he drew on the board an arrow and a person playing with himself. He erased his drawing and he thought a bit as to how to illustrate that the fact that he was not interested in hearing the person aloud. He drew like, "Go fuck you." That's what he drew. That's what he drew. To go. He's like a very rude person. But he comes out as polite because he erases his first message. Go
fuck
He drew an arrow to go, and then he just go fuck you. Such an asshole. Time, bro.
3 minutes and 40 seconds.
After thinking a bit, Chalon drew a person hanging from a tree. When Chalon showed the drawing to the man, the person remarked, "Never mind then, sheesh." All in all, the literacy rate in the city was much higher than in the 1,000 villages, and since the people in line tended to be outlanders, a lot of them did not know how to read. In society had one of the highest literacy rates. About 67% of the people living there knew how to read and write, and the place with the highest rate of literacy was naturally the capital city of Veragero. About 98% of the people living in the capital knew how to read and write, and from within that group, 47% had higher education, and the people in Veragero were not bruised despite the popular beliefs. Chalon walked a couple of steps forwards, and since it was the early hours, there were fewer people, and despite this fact, the line was progressing somewhat slowly, and the magistrate man in the station was still attempting to wake up. And the magistrate today went by the name of Shore of Sassari, and he had inherited the title and position of the magistrate from his father. And normally Shore would handle the noon shift, but his father was not feeling particularly well, so Shore had double duty today. And recognizing Shore, Chalon waved his chalkboard to get the man's attention. And Shore did notice, and then he whistled something to the guard, and the guard came to Chalon and took him ahead of everyone into the city. And since Chalon was a familiar face, interviewing him fell to Shore somewhat of a formality. And the special treatment got a lot of people envious, and there were even a few angry remarks. Chalon flinched a little as he felt all of the negative emotion being thrown in his direction. He instinctively casted a mirror word to protect himself from the evil eye, and the evil eye is a real type of thing. It is born from a person's negative emotions aimed at another fellow, and the stronger emotion that gives a proper form to the evil eye is the feeling of envy. And the people waiting in the line did not want Chalon's special treatment, rather they wanted Chalon not to have any. And it is interesting how such a small, insignificant thing can inspire the worst types of emotion of petty humans and other beings. It is well noted that a city is a reflection...
Last minute.
Alright. Well, leave it here. Bye-bye and God bless.